Okay, folks, good morning. Happy Saturday. All right. I don't remember where I left off with this guy. We're nearly done with him. I know that much. And when this figure is completed, is the last figure for this stand. I'll have another stand of standard cavalry to do, a cavalry general, and a command post. And it's going to take a miracle for me to get done before Historicon, but they'll either get done or they won't. Good morning, Ian. Top of the morning to you. So I'm not going to rush things and be unhappy with the results. That's the fastest way I can think to never paint again. That's unsatisfactory. That does not work for me. The game is just a byproduct of getting the figures done, you know? And just a way to play with your creations. Oh, good, we got the shield to do. Well, that is exciting. For those of us that are sadists that like to do shields. Well, let's not put it off any longer. Let's jump on that. Jump up on that shield. All right, the blue should be this one. That's the only reason I'm even remotely in a hurry, is because I'd like to be done by the show. I got to spend almost 30 hours in a car with another DBA nut. And I'd rather talk about what I'm going to do next instead of what I still have left to do on the project that I've been working the last 3 months on. 3 months, 4 months, 2 months, something like that. That's the only reason. I'm not in a hurry to play them. I'm generally not excited to play the armies that I just painted. I know that sounds crazy, but it is the fact that after looking at these guys, all right, and we'll do red. Red done dried. Red done dried up. Interesting. This has some fibers showing up there, but they're not from the... You know, there's dust flying around all of our environments. That's probably just it right there. So I don't know if I can, after using this new style wet palette for several hours. Not really sure how long it's been. Maybe it's been 10 hours, something like that. I don't know that I can draw many conclusions from it as opposed to the earlier version. It's bigger. The seal on it is significantly better. Not that it needed to be. The paper's strange, though. I don't know if I'm ever going to care for it. But it does seem to it seems because it is more of a pure white color than the paper on the other one, it is more noticeable when you've got, we'll call them little lint particles. You know, they're just pieces of dust or what have you. And to get them out of the way. And they've gotten mixed into my paint before using the other style. And it's not a big deal. Just kind of annoying that I have to deal with something that I shouldn't have to deal with. But I've just kind of accepted that it happens sometimes. The paper seems to hold down better to the pad, though. A little bit better. Oh, we got some runaway silver down here. Let's get that. Now, I don't like the fact that the paper is that much longer than the pad, but I think because it is harder to get that color on your pad, but it's not really that big of a problem. I guess I really didn't see anything in the old pad that needed to be fixed. Forgot to do a fungus check. See if this penny's making a difference. No. I don't smell it. I guess we'll find out when I get back from Historicon and I leave it sealed for a week. If there's any kind of a smell. If we go, I need to caveat that. I don't want to be too bold and say, yeah, we're going, and then they pull some kind of stunt that you have to do before that, and we're just not willing to put up with it, and we don't go. We intend on going based on the rules and lack of limitations they have now. But I guess that's the new normal now. Now that's the new normal. I got a caveat that every time. You said you were coming. Yeah, well. They didn't tell us we needed to wear dresses. That we would only be allowed if we had to wear dresses. To use an extreme example, I wish all that was behind us, but I think this is the new abnormal. I'm going to stop calling it the new normal. I'm going to start calling it the new abnormal. make sure how we did on sizing here. That's the wrong one to compare it to. This guy's an Old Glory guy and has a similar type. No, let's just tinker with it. That's why I don't seal them until all three of them are done. If I need to tinker with the other guy's shield to make them a similar size on the pattern. The problem is that the boss on this one's smaller than the other ones. So because of that, I have to make the little orange thing smaller because it goes up to the edges of the boss. You make a bigger boss, it's got to go farther to the edges. And they don't have to be exact, but they've got to be similar. Still morning, I guess. Well, it's still early. I got in here a little earlier than I normally do. I don't want to spend any time surfing around for shit. No yellow? Yellow dye? Yellow dye. Yellow dye. Just finishing off a unit of 28 millimeter Malbarians. So why that period? Not that I have anything wrong against it, but it is definitely one of, in my experience, one of the least popular periods. Well, one of the least popular periods that they actually make figures for. You know, it's more popular than, say, well, this is an unofficial poll. It's not even a poll at all, but it's more popular to say Mexican-American War or War of 1812. War of 1812 is definitely not a very popular period. I would do Malburian before any of that. What is it about it that appeals to you? Let's do the blue around the edges here to kind of put them in the same. Uniforms are a lot simpler to paint than Napoleonics. Okay. Is cavalry really susceptible? I mean, is infantry really susceptible to be charged by cavalry, or the fact that they have those early bayonets enough to kind of giving them a discouragement from charging them? Hey, good evening, Wolfman. How are you? I have played 1 or 2 games with it, but to be honest with you, they were just variations of DBN, and they were in 6mm, and I thought they were unsatisfying because they were in 6mm. I think it's just too small. I guess you could use that game that Mitch and Joel like to play, Maurice, for that. Of course, it's been a few months since I played it, so maybe 6 or 8. So next time I play it, I'll have to relearn all stuff I kind of knew. I guess that happens with every set of rules. You know, you don't play it in a while and you forget what the heck the rules are. Unless I think you could probably remember it a lot better if you don't play different games in the meantime. But as soon as you start, at least for me, as soon as I start playing something different, I forget the rules of something. So what are we talking about? Whatever you want. Malburian. Ian said he was finishing up some 28mm Malburian, and I mentioned that's just kind of a period that just you don't see much of. Especially here in the States. I'm actually surprised to see that there's quite a few people across the pond that are interested in American Civil War. But different folks are interested in different things for different reasons. I never cared about anything that was American history. I find American history way too boring. Not enough interesting characters or... None of the periods really spoke to me. So I'm not a fan of American history. A large collection of 6mm figures, Malburian, Great Northern War, ACW, and Franco-Prussian War. I've never played Franco-Prussian War, but doing some cursory, I think I watched a couple videos on it or something like that. And that's what I do now. Now I'm like, oh, I wonder what about this. I'll watch somebody's YouTube channel on it. And I was surprised to find that it seems like the British. No, there's no British in the Franco-Prussian War. The French had better rifles than the Prussians, and I wouldn't have thought that was the case. But what, the Prussians had better artillery, something like that. Never played Great Northern War. That's another elusive period. I would do English Civil War before I do American Civil War. And I don't think I want to do English Civil War. I can't be into everything. I've got to have my limits, so. You know, for me, if I'm not interested about the period, and I'm not interested really in the uniforms, the gameplay is of secondary nature. It is something to consider, but it is of secondary nature. Like one time I was talking to Mitch about possibly doing 7 Years' War. And what I would do is I would do French, no. I would do Prussia, Austria, Russia in Europe. But then just brainstorming with him, I already got bored of the game and I'd never even played it. Because everything's going to turn into the same type of thing. You know, you line your guys up into a line, he lines us up to a line. Find their weak point, blow it away, try to exploit through there. I'm like, okay, that's how everything kind of is. Like, yeah, all right. Okay, well, I got that out of my head. I pretty much need to stick to this to miniature gaming. It is just too quick. And we're going to get used out of these things that we're painting. It's not going to be like my 6,000 scale modern ships that I've got, I guess, over a dozen ships painted for it. No motivation to learn the rules. I'm reading them going, I'm not going to like these. I'm not going to like these. I'm not going to like these. But really, I just painted them because I thought they were cute. I want to paint the little lines on the helicopter deck. That was a big draw of it, honestly. All right. It's boss time. Now, this little paint thing, I remember, got knocked over. The painting mistake, which was to transfer this over. I bought another bottle of this stuff, and it doesn't look like it's the same color, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. There we go. But YouTube saves me from going off on tangents. And I'll be like, I wonder what about this, and see if somebody made a video about it. And I usually get enough to scratch my itch just from that. Like when I was looking at the 7 Years' War stuff, I'm like, I watched a couple of videos that people had done on it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. That's kind of my go-to thing now, you know, even with painting schemes, you know, Osprey books are good, but there's a lot of stuff that you want to know that isn't on there. So it's not the end all of everything. That doesn't mean I won't buy Osprey books. It's just saying that, you know, like this figure in particular, this had some pattern armor, and I wanted to see some examples of it being painted, what color it was in. And Osprey didn't have any of it. So I had to go on the internet, and we find an example of the picture there. And you kind of got to know what you're looking for before you just start going, oh, well, this person decided to put it in a Pinterest thing for Byzantine, and they don't look like Byzantines, but that's the figures I'm going to go with. There's wrong stuff everywhere. You kind of have to know what you're looking for. You know, it's like when you're doing some math problems, it helps a lot if you kind of know what kind of an answer it's going to be. You work some kind of a program, and you come up with a number. It's like, well, it's going to be probably close to 500. And then you get 496 or 520, and you can kind of just visually check it and go, yeah, that seems about right. But if you don't have a clue what you're looking for, you could do a math problem, and the answer could be, you know, negative 478. And you're like, that's the wrong answer, you know. So you got to know what you're looking for. Or it helps to know what you're looking for. Okay, we'll let that dry, and then we'll Nolan oil that. Check your work, right? Check that you're on the right track. You always thought Osprey books are greatly overrated. That could be. They seem lacking frequently, either in lacking of the pictures you wanted them to show of you, or lacking in the history, which you have to go somewhere else to get full satisfaction to find out about it. You know? And sometimes they're over subject matter. There just isn't a lot known about it, so they have to fill it up with the history of what it comes up to, but comes before it. Yeah, they're kind of a mixed bag. I'll admit they've become sorrier ever since Angus McBride doesn't paint any of the stuff for him, because I was a big fan of Angus's work. Big fan. All right, we're doing some kind of a gray colorification on the reins. Let's just stick with that. Some of the other artists I don't care for very much. Just the style they're done in. I'd forgotten his name, and then came up the other day, and I had to kind of search my memory for what his name is. And it's just one of those things that happens more and more to me. I don't have memory issues, but when I don't think about something for a long time, it's kind of in deep storage. And I've just gotten to the point where I'll sometimes buy books and look through the pictures and don't really do any of the heavy reading. I just have a problem where I can't really read if there's any kind of outside influence. I can. It's just annoying to get interrupted every 5 minutes or whatever. So that's the one thing I wish I didn't have is, I wish I could paint and have the TV on, or if the television's on, I'm like glued to it, and I don't like television, because you're doing nothing other than being a zombie. I can't just have it on and paint, or I'm not a multitasker in that respect, and I wish I was, because I enjoy what I'm doing right now, but just listening to something, actually, that I can do. But if something has a picture, I got to look at the picture. I feel like I'm missing out on part of the experience. Not so much illustrations for me as a lack of consistent information that wargamers need to know. Things like horse furniture, which ospreys rarely mention. Fair enough. Yep. Yeah, so then you kind of have to go with, and I got to do that all the time with horse furniture. Yeah. course, chest of drawers. Yeah, they don't really talk about that. You have to go with somebody's. Okay, well, what color did he paint the sword sheath? And the guy's just inventing stuff out of nowhere, also, because the information just isn't there. I think this guy's got a little bit of boots showing. Let's go ahead and pull that old color out. It's over here. That's a strange place for it. I can't wait to be done with this figure so I can clean all these paints up, because right now I've got kind of a encroachment of different stuff, and I find it distracting. I'd rather not have that there. Love the paint, don't care for the bottles. Well, it's not the bottles themselves. The bottles actually work really well. It's just the closure and the hinges, they die way too easily. There should be enough of that there. Maybe we'll pick up some foundry paints. There's one of the vendors has foundry paint thing. They're relatively expensive. I think they're like $16 or $18 for 3. Like, that's not my idea of a good time. That I can't remember if you got to pay taxes at not a huge thing, but it's another 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10% depending on where you live. I think 10% is only like New York State or something like that. And it's not something I need or gotta have. It's a lot easier for me to say no. But at least for me, the internet has had one positive effect on me in the hobby that is unusual, that maybe it has affected a lot of other people, but it's unusual until you kind of think about what I'm about to say. And back in the day, before the internet, where you still mail ordered things, but where you had to mail order things because something wasn't available. You'd have these paper catalogs without pictures for everything, or without pictures at all. And it was a lot more exciting to order things because you had no idea what they look like. With the internet, I found you. No, the internet is great for our hobby. Absolutely. It's wonderful. The internet is bad for a lot of things, but it's great for our hobby. But back when there weren't pictures of something, I would be tempted to order something just to see what it looked like. And I'd want to see the unboxing. But now there's pictures of everything online. And, it's a catch-22. You see some figure vendors, and they never can put pictures of their figures in the catalog. And you're like, why don't they do that? People aren't going to buy them. But I've ordered stuff in the past just to see what they look like, and frequently been disappointed. But I don't feel the itch to buy more than what I need, because I can just go online and see pictures of what the figures look like and kind of scratch that itch, so to speak, that you couldn't do before. So it is a double-edged sword. I'm not buying your figures because I don't know what they look like. And I'm also like, well, I'm not buying them because I've already seen what they look like, and I don't need to. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I've certainly ordered some things before because I didn't know what they were going to look like. And, with people doing unboxings, and how many times have you ordered something and the funnest thing was before you opened the box and you wanted to see what it contained and what it looked like and how it was packaged and all that stuff. And now you can just go and, for many things, see somebody that did a video of an unboxing of it, and it kind of takes your wind out of your sails to do that. Now, it's bad for the vendor, but it's good as the consumer because we're not buying shit we don't need as much, hopefully. But I've definitely noticed that in myself. I have pretty good self-control. And I'm older too, and, I've made those bad decisions. In retrospect, with all the decisions you can make in life, buying things you don't need of miniatures is not really that bad of a decision. It's not like you're doing drugs or something like that. But you don't want to spend your hard-earned money on something and then have second guess yourself, like, man, I wish I hadn't bought that because I'm not going to do anything with it. I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling at all. So at least for me, I've noticed that is a byproduct of having figures, of showing you what your figures look like, is the thrill of seeing what they look like is gone, which is good and bad. But unfortunately, we're going down seems like every day there's more and more stuff that isn't available anymore that was available at one time. Either the figures aren't continued or the sculptor passes away and the people in his family don't want to continue the miniatures game, or Games Workshop cancels yet another product line, but I guess they just kind of have to let that happen, or you end up overbuying stuff and not doing anything with it. And there is something about human nature. When you find out something's not made anymore, all of a sudden everybody wants it. These Elaine two-layer figures, nobody's tripping over themselves to get them when they were in production. As soon as they're out of production, everybody's like, hey, where can I get those? Where can I find them? I guess that's just human nature about everything. One of those things that's built into our psyche. Yeah, but the internet's good. Yeah, you found me. I found you too, internet. It's great for our hobby, absolutely. Especially something that's historical miniatures. I mean, there's nowhere here in town you can just go to a store and pick any up. All right, let's get that saddle brown color. No, not that one. This one. This one? No, this one. But for our hobby, it's good. For other things, not so good. I think it allows dangerous people to communicate with each other. People that are up to no good, but it lets people argue. Those that like to argue, and there's no repercussions of it. It's not like if you're nasty to something in the back the old days, you just get punched in the nose, and maybe eventually you would learn, how to behave around others. Some people will like, throwing stones in glass houses and stuff like that. I'm not one of those people, but I see it all the time. I see it in different forms. It's definitely not just a wargaming thing. The car groups are really bad. What do you got left on this guy? We got the rest of the saddle to paint. The horsehair. Touch up a couple things here and there. The hooves, and he's pretty much done. You can move on to the next figure. We won't go spray this guy until, I'm going to say until it's daylight, but it's almost daylight. I don't like the heat of summer, but man, the time is so much better. You don't get home from work and it's like night. Even though it was 105 here the other day. Touch this up a little bit. Got a little bit of metal on the leather. We can Nuln Oil his helmet. It's probably the thing that I use that I can probably get away with not using is the Nuln Oil. It makes a difference. It doesn't make that much of a difference. And I painted for many years without it. It might make a bigger difference in 28 mil or something like that, but in 15, you know, I just kind of do it just to say that I've done it. But if you end up covering most of what you do anyways, then what's the point in even doing it in the first place? I remember when I discovered the Tamiya smoke. They make back when we used to do 1/35th scale models, I was a big fan of their paints. And they had this stuff called smoke, which was basically just Nuln Oil, but it was extremely glossy. And I built a couple of models and brushed them with that afterwards. And I thought at the time that it looked good. But then, you know, I've got this super glossy model that I have to try to unglossy. But I am not a fan of their paints anymore because they behave weird. If there's any kind of moisture on the brush, they clump up a lot. When I discovered them, enamel paints were still a thing, and I guess they still are, but not for me. So the fact that you could rinse your brushes with water with their paints was a huge plus. All right, we're not going to do any socks on this horse because the other two do have socks. So we're just going to do hooves on him, and we're going to mix up a color based on the actual tone of the horse. So we're going to use this color. And let's add some black to it and make the horse mane will be in that color. Oh. Can't yawn. I had a big thing of coffee. What's up with that? I'm immune to it is what it is. What it is. So I was surprised I got an email from somebody the other day. I didn't know when I was submitting the games at Historicon that it posted my email address. I'm not really a fan of that, but it did ask this it just gave this it gave this person an option to contact me asking about the games, and what they asked was like, how come there aren't any DBA games on Sunday? And this must be somebody who hasn't come to Historicon in a long time, because at least for 10 years, Sunday gaming is pretty much dead. Yes, there was a time that some people gamed on Sunday, but some of us have to travel for 15 hours. You can't really game on Sunday and not take another day off. So you just try to stay up as late as you can. Well, not as late as you can, because you do need to go to bed about midnight on that Saturday, because, getting up the following morning and getting on a haul. But yeah, no gaming on Sunday. Hasn't been any DBA gaming on Sunday in at least a decade. But I'm like, we're already running 3 games. It's a full schedule. There's 1 game on Wednesday, which technically is before the show starts. Then 3 on 3 on Thursday, 3 on Friday, and 2 on Saturday. I don't do the third one on Saturday because, it's just easier to keep them between each other and give a little bit of a break. By the time you play that 9th game on Sunday, you've already had 8 other games. Give people a little bit of a break. Do that last chance for shopping. And yeah, Sunday's kind of a dead time. Now we do have Sunday games on our local convention, but it's only an hour and a half home. And it's only until lunchtime. But being done at lunchtime and then have to a 15-hour drive home, yeah, that's not good. We have to work the next day. And worse than having to work the next day, you need to clean up all the shit that happened while you were gone on vacation the next day. Which is the downside of vacation. It isn't, oh man, I got to go back to work. You've had a break. You're okay. I'm ready to get back in my routine. But, oh man, I got to go and see what kind of nonsense I got to fix while I was gone. Yeah, that sucks. But it keeps me from taking vacation day just because. It's got to be for a damn good reason. Because I'm going through a lot of trouble to take a day off. It better be with it. It better be for a good cause. Better be for a worthy reason. Slow Saturday morning. Guess we have a little bit of a belt showing there. Let's use a little lighter color so that'll pop. I'm not too picky about what it could be. It could be this buff color or something like that. Oh, we'll see if it dried out enough today to be able to go mow lawn. Not that it's something that I'm craved to do, but it is something that needs to be done. And it's a hell of a lot easier to do it on the weekend than after work. Hoof time? I think so. Put some of this black on the hoof. So I leave them for last because turning this figure around, I invariably end up scuffing up some of the stuff on the edges. So there's no point in painting all that stuff ahead of time and then scuff it up and then having to repaint it. It's just better to just paint it for the first time when you get around to it. I believe it's this color right here. Although no, there's some life in it. There's some life left in it. I'd love to be able to just work on these figures and not do anything else until they're done. But I'm going to have to stop here, go tinker with the next 3 figures, let this dry, then go spray it, then let that dry, go back to working on the next set of figures. You got to have to kind of leapfrog like that or you'll end up having a lot of downtime. And I'm really resistant to doing that, but there's really no other way. Which is why I paint figures by the each, because I don't like to jump around. And then we need to paint the muzzle a little bit. We could probably use something like this. Feel an itch to paint an elephant soon. I haven't painted an elephant in a long time. And only one of the armies I'm looking at doing next has an elephant. And has a very strange elephant. Has an elephant that I'm going to have to invent things out of. I'm going to have to pull them out of nowhere. I don't think they're super weapons. I just think that they're cute. And not something you get a chance to paint very often. Just remember, where there's elephant poo. All right, let's take a look at these three guys. These are the next three folks on the stands. Let me take a look at them side by side. Man, it's bright. That's not what it looks like to me. Let's take some of this brightness off. Okay, that's probably a little bit more realistic. Yeah, see, the shields aren't perfect, but the bosses aren't all the same size. And you have to make, you know, the pattern can't go past the center of the boss. So like the one in the middle has a much larger boss than the other ones. This guy ended up having the steel lightened up on him. I don't think he has. Let's go ahead and take care of that. On his helmet. And then we'll set these guys off to the side and pull out the next three figures. Zoom out. And let's move these guys off to the side. Okay. put this away because we're not going to mess with this for a little bit. Let's grab the other 3 figures. Go grab a soda. I'll be right back. Okay. I actually forgot to do something. I need to do that right now before I forget. It's not the end of the world if I forget. There's some things if you forget to paint and then seal the figure and have to go back and paint them, as long as they're in a place where you're not going to rub up against it. If it's a place you can't reach, in my opinion, it isn't a big... Jeez, this thing seals well. It isn't that big of a deal. And it's likely that if you forget to paint it, it falls in that category because it's a little bit more hidden on the figure where you wouldn't have forgotten in the first place. Part I'm talking about is the back of the shields. I don't think I painted any of them. So that's real simple. We're not going to put a whole lot of thought into it. We're going to mix. And it hasn't happened often to me, but it has happened. I've done with a figure, and then I'm like, I never painted the back of that shield. Well, I don't think I forgot this one, but let's just be consistent with that. And this one, yep, this one had gotten forgotten. Now we'll add a little bit of white to this. Mr. Dirk, welcome back. Well, Dirk's here. It's about time for me to sign off. That was last night when that happened, right? Or was that the night before? Yeah, I've been staying up a lot later than I should. I just don't want to come back to these figures. I don't want to come back from the show and have to work on this stuff. I want to work on the next thing I'm excited about. Which may or may not be a really exciting army. But I'll be excited about it nonetheless. I should say. It may be an army you guys aren't excited about me doing. It may be something very, very drab. All right, now we'll set these guys off to the side. All right, now we'll put the lid on this thing that's going to take a pry bar to get it back off. All right. Night before, last night, your time, I was out at the War Games Club. Excellent. Hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully you didn't have to deal with any penis wrinkles there. I don't have bad wargaming experiences. I hear about all you guys having bad wargaming experiences. There's just some stuff I'm just not going to put up with. You know. I don't need to game badly enough to put up with some things. And people with bad attitudes is one of them, for sure. So, and if other people want to put up with that, that's fine. I don't need to game that badly, you know? You know, there's some people at these war game shows that are like, I'll do whatever. I'll wear a dress. I'll dress up like a, anime character. I just want a game. And I'm like, man, I don't need to do all that, you know. This guy's an interesting character. This guy is a gladiator figure, which is kind of, let's see, let me put my glasses so I can see what I'm showing you guys. So this is a gladiator figure, which he's kind of oversized a little bit. And here's another Elaine Tulare guy. And here is an Old Glory guy. Let's make sure we don't have any crazy flash on these folks. So I'd rather not game than have to deal with people that are a pain in the ass. I got to deal with pain in the ass stuff at work, and they pay me, and it's still frequently not worth it. So I'm certainly not going to do it for free. All of our competitive players went to Field of Glory, so the Gentlemen of Leisure played DBMM. You know, Field of Glory, was really popular a few years ago, and then it just disappeared here in the United States. Seems like it. If I want to play Field of Glory, I'd turn on the computer. And I have been enjoying that. I have been enjoying the Field of Glory Empires, but it doesn't take the place of this. I can't be creative. I mean, I need to get my creative energies out. And playing a video game isn't going to do that. Who's going to do that for me? I'm a competitive player, but I get what you say about Gentlemen of Leisure. I'm one of those too. I want to have a good time. I want to play the rules right. I want to be honorable. I'm not a win-at-all-cost person. And I want to stay motivated so I can paint my next project. And, this is the only game I've ever played that's a that's a tournament type thing, and it's only so I could use my own figures. It's not because I got to do well in the tournament. I got to get a trophy. I don't give a shit about none of that stuff. You know. All right. These are our 3 guys. Here is their 3 lances, which were all pre-cut to size. The size I was happy with, and I'm glad I did that because I don't have to worry about that anymore. So we need 3 horses, 1 of them armored, 2 of them not armored. Okay. Let's take a look at these. And then what else do I have? Do I have yet another one? What the hell is going on? I do. Damn it. Oh, this is similar to this one. Let's paint these guys. This has a different dude there. Let's get some of these horses out here. Let's see what I got to choose from. I know there's one horse in here that's fully armored. We're going to leave that for the commander. I'm going to use that fully armored one. Okay, I don't want that one. Here's the fully armored one. I don't want this one that's covered in the tapestry. Oh, the Emperor gets that one. He's going to have a special horse. All right, so we need one not fully armored, half armored horse. Okay, if the command's going to have this one, let's have one of them facing straight forward and this other one to this side. This is going to be the one for the commander. So let's get him here, right here. We've got him bagged up. I believe it's this one. Yeah. Now we can't choose from them anymore. That's the cavalry commander, or I think in one of the lists I can actually have a knight commander. So I'm going to have the general's horse fully armored. Okay, so one of these 3 guys will be on this stand. Which one did I just do? The one that's facing straight ahead. I got another one facing straight ahead and another one that's turning to the left. So let's do one of these that's turning to the right. Okay. That's one of them. And I have another couple of horses that I choose from. I'll do the same poses. All right. This is a Tulare horse, which I'm not really fond of this pose. He's got kind of like he's got fat cankles. Horse with cankles. That's an Old Glory horse. I don't know what the hell he's doing there. An Old Glory light horse type thing. Okay, these 2 are Gladiator. Okay, so we'll use one of these, and then we will use one of these. A horse with cankles. Weirdly, we had a split when DBMM came out. DBM had some super armies, which DBMM negated. The hardcore DBM players went on to play Field of Glory. Yeah, most people they don't want to learn to play a different way. They're like, this army's great, and I want it to always be great, instead of be like, well, let me just learn how to play it a little different. I have the army list for both games, and I wouldn't want to play DBM if DBMM came out. DBMM has so many more interesting flavor of things, but Yeah, those people that moved on probably did you a favor, didn't they? I don't like the Codex mentality of Field of Glory. And I could just play it on computer if I really wanted to play Field of Glory. And it's a fine game. There's nothing wrong with it. I wish I had pips. I wish I had a pip mechanism. Instead of be able to do whatever you want as long as your units are in good order. Uh-oh, this guy's going to be incorrigible. We better file his ass down. We better file a complaint. Worst thing about Essex horses is they have very small footprint. Oh, did I just break this guy? He's loose there. I felt him snap. I have another horse in the same pose. I'm not going to use him unless I have to. That's a problem later on. Yep, you don't miss those players. Yep. As I like to say, fuck them. And you know, I play hard. I play these games hard, but you got to play the games hard and friendly. You know, you got to be like, you can't keep things from your opponent if you're trying to teach them how to play. You know. Maybe I'm just unusual that way, but I want to win half the time, or maybe 51% of the time. I want it to create a good narrative. You know, kicking somebody's ass in a game that's not even close is not my idea of a good time. Let's try this again without snapping this guy. I have one guy that said, you know, Historicon, you're going to let people use whatever dice they want? I'm like, why wouldn't I? Well, we had this problem, like, well, it was before I even started playing DBA. I'm like, no, that person, we know who that person is. I mean, I've heard rumors of who that person is. It was just one guy, you know. I'm not a big fan of somebody does something strange that's not up to societal norms, and we have to change society to deal with that. No. Hang that one guy. You know? Why do we have to change everything in society because some guy got a wild hair up their ass on a fluke? You know, we've never had a problem with people cheating and using cheating dice. I mean, I don't care. I actually was more partial to it before because I like to use a dice that looked like it went with my troops. I was never able to do that in a previous game. But now that doesn't even matter to me anymore. I just, you know, I don't care. I'm not into controlling people. So let people do whatever they want. There's enough forces that are forcing us to do A, B, and C that we don't want to. I certainly don't need to bring that into the games as well. Yeah, this was before I even started playing DV8. Somebody got caught with a die that would only roll sixes or something like that. That's just like, what kind of an individual does that? Well, they're probably an asshole too. It's not like, well, they're really nice except the few times that they cheat. No, that's somebody you don't want to be around. There's no honor in that person. You have shamed your family. Shame, 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 shame. All right. Now let's look at our candidates here. This guy's huge. He almost has to be on one of these two horses. Who did we put? The Tulare guy went on the Tulare horse last time. damn it, I wish I hadn't done that. Okay. This guy's been on an armored horse before. Let's see what this guy looks like. We don't want to put him on the little horse. What if I put... Have we used a 2-layer guy on an armored horse before? I actually don't think so. But the problem is he doesn't really have a saddle per se. And it should be all right. What's this guy look like here? Weird. We don't want to do that. Okay, so let's put him here. And then this guy here. Okay, because we need to do the epoxying in 2 different steps. We want to put the lances on them first. We just want to make sure we attach the epoxy there to the bottom of that. I've watched you guys play, and I'd love to play with you. We have a good attitude, but we're competitive, you know. But I used to care a lot more about winning, and now I want it to be a close game, that unusual things happen, that creates a really interesting narrative. You could be like, oh, remember the time that this and that happened? That's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in now. You know, after you've won as many times as I have. Look, I've lost almost 1,000 games. So, you know, the fact that I've won 1,100 doesn't matter. I've lost 900 of them. You know, it doesn't matter anymore. You know, I want a cool story. I want an interesting story. And we each win about half the time. You know, Mitch is 6 games or something behind me? Yeah, 6 games out of 1,000. We're damn near tied. You know, the only difference is he can't paint. We win half the frickin' time. I win half the time, so it doesn't really matter. It's just just seeing really interesting things happen. It's just fascinating. After playing games so many times, and you still see like insane stuff. So my preference actually is to do historical battles now. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do one-off games, but my interest is definitely going to go towards the historical battles, because I kind of like the games that we're not keeping score. And if you see a cool move for your opponent to do, tell them about it, so that it'll be on video when something really exciting happens. Not like, oh, I see that, but I don't want to tell them about it. I don't know. I feel like we've moved past that, and especially if you've got like newer players. You know, you don't want to show up and they're only winning 10% of the time. That's no fun. I've been a new player before. You know, these people aren't idiots. They're just not. They don't have the experience in your game. You know. Okay, that one's good. Let's be careful. He goes with that horse. Don't need to reinvent the wheel again. This guy's... So, definitely looking forward to doing more historical stuff. And, you know, it can be unbalanced. Just let people play both sides. You know? So Mitch is supposed to be picking up a new army. So it is likely that I will paint one of their enemies. But it's to be continued. Because it still will be some time before I get that army painted, so. I just don't want to do some scenarios for his new army that we do videos on, and and they don't have cool looking enemies for them. And I can tell you right now, we're definitely going to be pushing the threshold on rules with this next set of matchups. And I'm not opposed to changing the rules or how certain units to behave, as long as you're doing it in a historical setting where it's going to make the player make decisions that are based on, you know, kind of the decisions that people had to make in real life. So, that Jewish general a couple months ago, I watched that game a couple times. Isn't that crazy? I was rooting for him. He was whipping my ass. That was epic. That's a perfect example of why we play war games. Stuff like that. That's why we play war games. Because you're just missing out on there's a story to be told, and you don't even know about it yet. And it's unfolding behind your very eye, in front of your eyes, and it's just crazy. And it's also a reason why I don't want to play and not film, because something like that could happen, and the whole world didn't get to see it. And it's just unbelievable. But we've seen so many unbelievable things happen. Yeah. Judas Maccabee. What a badass that guy was in that game. Charging elephants and getting away with it. Door closed, didn't matter. That's why you war game. For things like that. And then you have situations like there's one battle where I brought Edward the Bruce, and he was like a 5-1, and he couldn't get the kill. And then you'll have somebody like that just swings the other way. It's just part of war games. That's why I play. Stuff you'll never forget. All right. So we're going to mix a batch epoxy and epoxy these lances down. Let them set. Let's get our little thing that we're going to sit these guys on while they dry. Let's use one we're not going to. And let that dry a little bit, and then we'll glue them on the horses. Meanwhile, we can glue the horses down as well. Let's go ahead and do that first, actually, because I'm going to have to shake the table a little bit. I'd rather do that while I don't have guys that are drying. So we need 3. This is about dead. I got plenty of spares for this. There we go. All right, this is the flimsiest base. So let's put the horse that's the most stable there, which I think is going to be this one. Okay, the flimsiest horse, I believe, is this one. Let's put him on the more solid base. And then this one over here goes on that one. All right, let's get our, now we'll get our epoxy out. Has been the best thing to mix epoxy with is a needle. You can get all that extra gunk off of it. Oh, stinky. Stinky winky. These holes are so close to the size of this. Of these pins. But one thing that happens is that I have to push them, to get them in here, I've got to push them in from the bottom. Because normally what I would do would be to put a little dab in the hole and then push that through, and then you'll get some of that epoxy inside the hand, but it's not that useful. But these hands are really, really small. I had to go with kind of the, well, maybe he doesn't need to be on that thing after all. It'd gone many years without having to put somebody on a straddle and a brush. So if he really doesn't want to behave, then it's not that important. Okay, put the dab down here. with any bit of luck, I can glue these guys right away. I don't think this is hardened enough. All right, so we're putting the Tulare guy on the Tulare horse, right? Let's get that going. Yeah, we're gonna have to mess with him later. Armored guy goes on this horse. This guy goes here. And then this guy goes over here. Okay, this guy's pretty freaking solid. Alright, let's see if we can. Let's put a bigger gloop there. Kind of like eating spaghetti. Eating spaghetti with a spoon, that's gross. Not eating meat things with a spoon. Oh, it's way too thick. No. It just, it went from too wet to too dry in a moment. Let's just go with what's on there. I think we'll be okay. I just wanted a little bit extra security on that. You know, if I use longer setting epoxy, that's not any better. Love the smell of epoxy in the morning. I don't mind it. Well, the one of them is stinky. The other one just kind of smells kind of inert, but honestly, I was surprised as a kid when I found out that people would like huff glue and stuff like that. I've worked with model glue my whole life, and it's a chemical smell. Why the hell would you want to smell that? But I've also heard of people that like the smell of gasoline. What's wrong with you? See what happens when you don't beat your children? All right, here's this. Three candidates. So then after this, we have a command. I actually have another set of 3 cavalry figures. I don't know why, but I do. But they won't get done before the convention. I'm just doing the minimum to get by. Because I'm out of time. So I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get these guys done and the commander done. I don't know about the command post, which is going to be a shame, but that thing's going to look awesome. So if I do need to come back and paint something, it's going to be the command post because I'll be excited to do that. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to go to the garage and, or as you guys like to say, the garage, and spray these guys so we can start letting the chemical reaction stuff do its thing, which takes a little bit of time. And it's awfully moist out there, but I don't expect any issues. And then I will be right back. And we will, hopefully these guys will be dry enough that I could start painting these guys in black. Because they're, who's next? These 3 folks right there. And then we have another 3 that's the commander. And there's 2 attendants, including the flag bearer. So, assuming the stand's done, I've got 6 to be able to play the army. But I really want to get the command post done. To be honest with you, I'm going to use the command post as much as I can. Because it's just cool. But, if I don't paint the cavalry commander first, I'm never going to use them, because that was honestly the biggest reason I built this army. Is they were Byzantine and they had a command post. So, all right, folks, I will be right back. We will just turn off the sound and be back in a few minutes. Okay, as promised. I warned you. All right, how are we doing on the glue department on these guys? Ooh, he's still iffy a little bit. fine. I'm not going to be painting them in an area that gets a lot of activity. It's interesting how this reacts. This is the black primer. Look how this comes off. It's almost rubbery. Like, I don't think this other paint will do the same thing. I could be wrong. What do I know, right? Let's go ahead and take all this stuff off. For the most part of it. This is what I used to use for a paint palette. Rubber things like this. Lids to crisp containers. The problem is that it dried out a lot quicker. So I had to remix stuff. I had to stop what I was doing and remixing until I did the wet palette. I don't know, I've been using some form of wet palette now for probably about 10 years, I'm guessing. Because I kind of rudimentary made one for a little while. So when it was time to buy one, I didn't mind because it was something I was definitely already using for a while. It wasn't like I was going to stop using it. All right. I thought I had taken this off. Get tunnel vision when I don't have my contacts in / glasses. The brush is just to get off any extra little bits, so. All right. Now we can think again. We'll need epoxy again for a little bit. My least favorite thing. Let's see if I can get away with opening this without making a mess. Nope, still got some on me. Let's use a brush we don't love so much. You know what, actually, before I do any of that stuff, let's close this for good measure. Okay, I'm now waiting for my own epoxy to dry. 5-minute stuff. Yeah, that's what mine is, I think, too. I can't imagine it be longer work time than that, or shorter. Let's put all this stuff away. Let's put all these colors that have invaded my workspace and get them back where they belong. Paint this black, and while that's drying, we'll have to figure out what the shield pattern is we're going to do for the next 3 guys, because that will determine kind of a theme or what direction I'm going to go with them. I could make up my own, but it's just a lot easier just to kind of look at ones that are already done, and maybe I'll put my own spin on one of them that's there. I definitely want them to look Byzantine. I don't want them to be just kind of generic Christian. So if these guys are riding next to, say, Normans or something like that, or crusaders, you could tell them apart from each other. I don't want to go crazy with the key rows. That's a little bit of an earlier period, and there's going to be some of that on the Emperor's stand, I think. So we don't want to steal his thunder. Cairo or Alexandria? No, Memphis. All right, this needs to be in my bag. Actually, we don't have a pair up here. All right, yeah, let's do some maintenance. Let's do some maintenance out of here. I got all kinds of brushes galore. We need to put these guys in their, not their proper place, but we need to get them the F out of here. I got too many. Let's do some maintenance. Measuring stick. I don't know what the hell it's doing here. That's a good way to never use it again. I'm not the most organized person in the world, but if I don't keep myself on a short leash, I will waste a lot of time and be really inefficient. Extra bags. I just have just extra everything's. I remember when I was doing, I think it was CNC miniatures, I would have all these extra foams because the little boxes come in these little containers. So these extra bags, they can go in my bag of bags. Throw that away. More bag of bags. The bag of bags. Bunch of little screws. I have no idea what the hell those little screws go to. We'll just hold on to them. Garbage. Magnet. Alright, let's take these larger ones and put them there. Now we can close the drill bits. We won't be drilling anything out anytime soon. That's just all my French resistance guys. Talked about them a little while ago when they stayed out here. Alright, let's get... Missed a horse. Where these guys go? This goes in the garbage. Keep that little piece of wood. We might need that for something. As I've painted figures, they've left the bag that they've been in. Where is that bag of bags? Probably in the closet. Yep. The army I'd really like to do, well, it makes it sound like I've got something I really want to do, and I want to do lots of things. I just gotta think about it. I really would like to do Mamluks, but it's just a shitload of cavalry. They're just gonna look awesome. They're gonna be like the Turks. They're gonna look great and do shit in battle. Which the part that they do shit in battle isn't really that important. And I have them all ready to go. Okay, we're going to use this in a moment. I've seen you guys work area. It drives me bananas. I almost get ADD just looking at it. I wish the rest of my house was like this, but maybe I just need to film it. Tony does housework. No, I'm not going to dress up as a French maid for you. Sorry. I know I could get a lot more viewership. I could get a lot of people have a lot of viewers on stuff just because they do outlandish stuff. And I'm a little too proud for a lot of things. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go the whole hog. F it. It helps me really stay focused. Not have all this extracurricular shit. So yeah, I've got a painting table that wasn't extremely expensive or anything. But I do want to take care of it because I don't plan on ever buying another one. And I don't want paint and shit all over it. So I've got lots of layers of protection. Part's done. I don't know why this little village is here. But it's about to leave this area. Kevin, oh good, you're back so you can give us a punchline and a joke. The joke that none of us got because many of your postings, I guess, didn't show up on the internet. I'm like, where is this from? Remember I was talking about earlier that we have a Blackadder themed brewery here in town? Here it is. There's a wooden token from, I forget what it was. They were running some event that you got one of these every time you got a beer. I don't know. And then I've got a token for initiative token from Historicon 2018. Oh, Lancaster. That's the last time it was there at that shithole. At the shithole host. I don't know if I'd go again if they continue having it at the host. That place just needs to be condemned. It's embarrassing that anybody in Western society would go to a place like that. What the hell is this Pack 38 doing here? Got a 20 millimeter Pack 38 just hanging out over here. This goes here. All right. We're all zen and shit now. Let's put this cavalry back. Here's the 3 figures that we did. Here's the blue cutting board that I don't think I cut on it at all, except I trimmed some brushes and stuff on it. And I didn't even buy this thing. This came from work. One of the guys at work's like, hey, you want one of these U-line cutting things? I said, I do, but I don't want to hear it work. So what do you mean? I said, I want to take it home for my hobby. And he's like, all right. So I took it home. And I'm real protective of it. These things are expensive. You know, they're $20 or $30. I don't want to have a bunch of chips, and as it is, there's a little bit of bits of black paint because what I'm about to do right now tends to be a little messy. I would have bought one of the ones that's all black, but I don't need to spend my money on that. This works just fine. Gotta do this a couple times a year or I'll go mad. Only thing I ever trim on this thing is like the edges of brushes, because they stand out real well on the blue. The problem with using water-based paint or water cleanup paint is I can't reactivate these little specks of should rename this video Tony Being Anal. It feels good to do this. Seen them way more expensive. They're expensive. They're expensive, and you know I want to protect them, and I don't want to be distracted by all these cuts and paints and shit. So I'm a big fan of using this, which is just the back of your paper from work and stuff. Got everybody at work collecting them. I said, don't throw them away. This stuff's great. This is actually great material, and it's free. All right. Now, let's find us a brush that we're going to use to prime this guy. There's some rather large ones there. That's a bit over the top. One of these ones that's been molested a little. The new thing I do now is I go to stores now and I'll go, that's not what that cost, and I don't buy it. Obviously, it's something that I need, but some things have just gotten way too expensive for what they are, for what they've always been. I'm just not going to pay those kind of money. The exception I make is brushes. I'm not buying any Chinese brushes. I just got to pay a lot more for them than I used to. You get like 10 of them for $4, and now those 10 would cost you, I don't know, 20. So, luckily I don't go through them that often. But okay, so these are the guys. Let's get these painted guys out of the way, and let's paint these guys black. I've seen other people's work area. I don't know that I like anybody's work area better than mine. They're just too chaotic. Actually, I've seen one guy that has like multiple tables. But I told my wife, if you ever move, my work area is going to be more useful. Not because I need more space, but I got this big window that it's not very useful. It's kind of in the middle of a wall, whereas if it was off to one side or the other, it'd be a little better, but it's probably plenty. Too much, if anything. I know some people I've heard of, they have, well, I don't have a dedicated painting area. So what do you mean? I said, well, every time I sit down to paint, I have to get all my things out and go on. I'm like, I wouldn't get anything done. That wouldn't work for me. I've always had a dedicated paint area. When I lived at home, I had a drafting table. Had one of those drafting lights. That thing lasted me quite a bit. That got me into DBA. So I probably had that since probably 85, 84, 85 through 2007 maybe. And never had to replace a bulb either. But that's how they used to make things, back in the 60s. It was an old drafting lamp from the 1960s. And, towards the end it would hum and stuff like that. But even then, in my room, I had a little painting area. Everything would stay right where I left it last time. There's really no other way to do it. I just can't imagine every time you want to paint, you burn 30 minutes getting everything out. And I'm rounding up, obviously. All right. If we miss some spots, we miss some spots. And then we'll take a look at what colors we're going to paint. Potentially these shields. Put the little picture of them up there on the screen. And then we'll go check on the guys that I sprayed. And hopefully they're ready to do the dull coat brush on. There's no instructions on the can on how long you should wait, which is, probably a good thing, because even if there was, it'd probably say, need to wait 24 to 36 hours. I ain't waiting that long. I got things to do. Ain't nobody got time for that. So hopefully this evening, that stand of 3 guys will be done completely. We can put pictures of them up on the internet for those of you, the guys that are into Facebook. Lots of people don't like Facebook. I do. I think it's great. I think Facebook's great for our hobby. Sure, it's not perfect, but I don't go on there to argue about shit. It makes posting pictures real easy. If I was going to buy a cutting board, I'd probably, well, the problem is it'd be covered all the time, but they make one that has like a Sherman tank on it or stuff like that. Almost kind of like a blueprint, so to speak. So we have a blue themed group. We have a green themed group. And that's mostly a white shield. I think there's a pattern out there that's yellow. That might be the one to go with next. Oh shit. Watch people refurbish Hot Wheels and they wait 24 hours for paint or clear coat to dry. I love watching those videos where they restore things. They're really satisfying to watch. Like they'll restore an old Matchbox car or something like that. Really satisfying to watch that. "24 hours. I ain't waiting 24 hours. I don't have time for that." That's the corners I'll cut. I'm not gonna, use a wash, to cut corners on painting, but I'll cut corners like I'm not waiting 24 hours. I'm not gonna touch the figure where that paint is anyways, so I don't see what the big deal is. All right, let's go grab those clowns that are in the garage. And then we'll take a look at some shield patterns and see what theme we're going to go for these guys. Oh, thank you. Didn't have the microphone on. Whoops. Mein bat. I don't know what the hell I was saying. But I was saying that when I do the gloss coat, it's not very thick. I just give it a light misting, and I'm not sure if that's the issue that a lot of folks are having with the frosting. If there was nobody here in the house, I would have just left the microphone play. But it'd be one of those things where as soon as I walk away from here, somebody would come in and start having a conversation, maybe. As soon as I walked out of the room. Not likely to happen, but if it happens, I'd be a little upset. The irony of it, the irony and coincidences. Okay, let's get these guys drying over here in the corner. Yeah, it's unlikely there would be no sound coming from here because, well, this chair likes to bitch sometimes when I go from side to side. Unfortunately. Yep, there you go. Pops and cracks and... Alright, let's take a look at some shields, decide which one we're going to do, and put the little picture of it up there in the corner. Yeah, the transom light here is really, you can see where it's coming up through the wall. No, I have a painting video on what I do. I spray gloss on everything just for protection, and then I matte everything. I don't like glossy anything. It looks better. It looks better matte. It just doesn't distract your eyes. Okay. But yeah, this is what I was talking about. All this light that comes through here, at some point in the morning, it's going to come in and land here on my painting surface and be really, really distracting. So that's what I call transom light 30. All right, let me put myself back in the corner, and let's go take a look at my file here with the shield examples. And we've got a green base one and a white base one. And this blue one. What do these shield patterns have? They all have a boss. They're all pretty much smooth. The yellow one's ugly. It's got these little squiggles on it. There's no reason I can't just switch the colors on one of these and still make it yellow. Of course, I wouldn't want red on the outside, so what color would I be able to do? What's the yellow ones, even though I don't like the squiggles on them? What's the outside of them? Oh, they don't have a color. Shit. I could do these red ones that had kind of like a flower on them, like a yellow flower on them. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll do the red base one. So let's take a picture of one of them. Let's take this. Huh. Oh, I see. I couldn't do it that way. Right. Right. Let's close this. Let's open up Little Big Man Studios. You know, I would have used the decals maybe if I wasn't using all kind of figure manufacturers. And we're going to do a search for Byzantine. Is it this one? Oh, that's the infantry one. Man, there's some cool shield patterns in here. I'm just trying to use the ones that are specifically meant for cavalry. Ooh, I like this one. Wasn't that one of my choices? I think I'm going to go with this one. Let me open this up. Save image as. I may not do the little detail in the center because I don't want everything to have a flower in the center, but you notice some artists like to think some Byzantines like to paint their spears. Sometimes it looks good. Sometimes it looks good. Cancel. I'm doing this wrong. Let's properties. Browse. Open. Done. Well, this is what we want to. This is what we're going to go with. This is the theme. Oh, I found another guy in Cavalry. Don't tell me this guy's got a padded jacket. He doesn't. Good. Because I would have done like a pink one. Is one of the guys like a pink padded jacket. Yeah. So that's the theme that we're going to go with. And that's going to be, let's see, what is it? Like dark blue with some yellow. All right, cool. This guy's got leather armor up top, chain on the bottom. That's kind of cool. And we painted one of these guys before. All right, we need to get some cafe. We're not gonna make it. Be right back. And let's not forget to turn on the microphone. Learn from your own mistakes. Let's put these guys, they be a drying back here. Now, one thing I noticed is these three have shields. One of them does not have a rim, and this has a shield that has a little bit of a rim on it. So I think I'm going to have to paint a rim on it. I'm thinking that's the tack I'm going to have to go on. All right, all those brushes I put away, let's pull some of them back out. Here we go again. Man, that's a seal. That's a seal. And that's because the whole outside is rubber, not just a little grommet that's inside of it, but the whole outside all the way up against the edges is just like a piece of rubber, and it's a really good seal. Good morning, Mike B. So this is the first figure on the 4th Cavalry stand. Where did Dirk go? It's hard to say. He's kind of in the opposite, on the opposite time zone of us, so it may be time for bed or something like that. All right. This guy's got a lot of leather on him. A lot. All right, what color horse we're going to do on this guy? Let's do... Man, we missed a lot of stuff on this guy. Maybe we should do that. Make sure we touch this guy up. The primer behaves weird sometimes. Sometimes it gets kind of goopy when you're putting it on. So I don't want to go over one spot too many times. If I have the occasional spot I need to touch up with this regular paint, I'm okay with it. I don't want it to be clumpy. There he is. Happily painting baggage and drinking wine. Whew, that's a good way for me to fall asleep. You guys have sulfite-free wine over there? The sulfites make me feel like shit, all like flushed and stuff. I like the taste of it. It's not a taste issue at all. Never think about having wine. I can't say I've ever painted with wine. All right, metal bits. Let's do some really light dry brushing here. The only part of him that has chainmail is like the skirt of him. Oh, and I told Mitch when I got this army done, I was going to commandeer a... He's got some... Just like I have my little Roman church that I use as a camp for my Pope. He's got a Byzantine looking one that I'm commandeering from him. But I wasn't going to mess with it until this army's done. I don't know if I'll get it done in time. Doesn't matter. I'll use a baggage element for these guys' camp. There's also a guy on Fanaticus that posted some pictures of some 3D printed Chinese cities, and I'm probably going to paint one of those for Mitch, but we're not ordering it until we're en route to Historicon, because I'm not painting it before then. But that's going to work into some of the scenarios that we have. It may just be in the corner, doesn't really do anything, but just for ambiance. Looks like it could look pretty neat. Let's go and do the leathers on this guy. Hopefully it looks as good as that ziggurat I painted for Joe. And I don't paint things for people. I don't paint things for people for money. You know, if I decide to paint something, it's on my own terms. I don't charge anybody for it. And you don't get to ask. You don't get to ask me to paint something for you. And the deal is I don't charge. So what's left to do? Okay, so I've got well, I just finished the 3 cavalry guys. They're drying right now before I can base them. So they'll have to be based, but that kind of takes care of itself. These 3 guys of cavalry, and then the 3 command stand of cavalry, and then the army's playable. But I'm then also building a command post, which is, I think, 7 figures. 1, 2, Yeah, it's 7 figures. It's 4 guardsmen, a guy with a horn, a guy with the flag, and then the emperor himself. So that may or may not be done by Historicon. I hope it is, because I'd like to use it in most battles, but I mainly don't want to work on this army when I'm on my way back. I want to be daydreaming about what I'm going to do next. Yeah, there's a guy that has the file section. It's relatively expensive. It's like $35. But I'm not paying for it. Or, Mitch can pay me back for it kind of thing. But I think I should be able to get that paid in about 4 or 5 hours worth of work. Maybe less. But it's all one piece. I don't know how it'll print out. Some 3D printed things are awesome. Like those skeletons that I have for my Dracula's army. Those guys are superb looking. And some things show the lines a little bit more than I'd like, but yeah, I hate it, honestly. I don't like the crunch time thing. I didn't miss not having conventions. I could just paint things and they get done when they're going to be done. And the same thing with this. These guys will be done when they're done, not before. I just don't want to spend 30 hours or so in a car knowing that when I get back I have to work on the same army I've been working on for a while. I'd rather know that I have a clean plate. I hate the crunch time before convention. So I didn't miss that when we had the pandemic. It's like I just started a project and it was done when it was done. Reminds me of writing those damn papers for school at the last minute. Well, this is a lot more fun. This is fun. A lot more fun insinuates that there's some fun in writing papers. Not for me, there isn't. I am not a writer. I do not enjoy that. That thin brush that we had. Is it this one? I think it's this one. There it is. It's going to California convention. Didn't happen. They had a King Arthur themed tournament going on. I crunch painted a sub-Roman British army. There's an army I'll never build. And I don't mind the troop composition. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Because I could quote things from Monty Python and the Holy Grail while I played them. So maybe there's the purpose for that. I need to take a look at something, and it's called the weather. You can see what the weather's going to do today. It's already 75, of course. Let's see if I can just click on this and it would give me the answer I need. See full forecast. Thunderstorms will move through your area. Okay, what's the rain chance? Wind speed, air quality, 51% chance. Okay, but that doesn't tell me. I want hourly. Oh, here it is, after 2. Okay. All right, cool. You also use splintered light minis, also of which you will not do. God, I hate splintered light. Actually, you know, Mitch's his Anglo-Saxons are all splintered light. They don't look bad. They are some lanky, sloppy. I don't know. I don't like them, but that's fine. People have fans of them. No, I would do Forged in Battle. So the army I think I'm going to do next is Huns. I'm going to do a big Hun morph. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. Because it works with what Mitch has that he's going to be excited to do. Not necessarily that that's what I want to do next. I'd rather do something like Illyrian or Paeonian instead. Or one of the successors. Or something in between all those. But if I do morphs, my Huns, I'll be ordering some Forged in Battle Huns to supplement the Gladiator ones I have. And, you know, we'll do everything from Attila to the White Huns. There's an incentive to do those guys. Complete with Heffalump. And that's probably the direction I'm going to go in. Because when I get back, I should be able to hit the ground running, because I'm going to use at least half the armies, or half the figures are going to be Gladiator Goths. Gladiator Huns, and I already have them. So... But that's going to be some historical battles that's going to involve a significant amount of special rules. And so that they can behave Hun-like. But that's probably the direction I'm going to go in. That's the direction I'd like to go in. The video is freezing. Okay, well, I figured out how to fix that. Video is frozen. Is it? Oh, it shouldn't be. Not on me. Huh. Which part's frozen? The bottom or the top? It's probably the bottom. The top really can't freeze because it's running through the computer. I can burp it though. Let's burp it up. Okay, so the way to burp this is... No, let's get out of that. Let's drop this camera. connection will be stopped. Okay, that's fine. All right, then let's minimize this. Okay, now it should be frozen for me. Let's close this. Okay, it's frozen at the bottom. Got it. And still alive here at the top. Hello, greetings. So let's go ahead and minimize this. Let's close that. Let's minimize that. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and open the Droid Cam app again. I'm gonna disconnect from the internet. I'm going on the whatever it's called, the Wi-Fi. I'm gonna reconnect to the Wi-Fi. I'm going to take all these things off my thing, and I am going to connect this app as well, and it should be burped. It should be burped. Oh, I do have 50 warnings down there. What the hell? Skip frames, 2 minutes ago. Well, I don't know what's going on. Hopefully it's not frozen anymore. That's all I can do at this point. What, are the drones striking again? Are the Ukrainians back tying up all my bandwidth? That's still going on? Oh. Aren't the Russians going to run out of tanks pretty soon? I haven't watched that since they pulled that fast one on me. Little Tony working now. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. We could have fun with that one. I don't know why that happens from time to time. The mystery of the internets. The mystery of the internets. We're going to have to mow. So the only good thing about that is I get to listen to a book, an audio book, while I do that. Maybe we'll do Appian this morning. Discovered that there was a new app. Well, it's not new, but I didn't know that there was one on there, and who knows? Maybe Dan Carlin has something new to listen to. Something to make the time go by. It's going to take every bit of 2 hours. But it's got to be done. They brought the 62s out of mothballs. I always liked the way that the 62s looked. I don't care if they're a piece of shit. I always liked the way they looked. I haven't watched the news on that in months. Maybe even longer than months. Well, a month would be a year, but no, I haven't. Ever since they pulled that stunt of that Snake Island thing, they're like, oh, they sold they weren't going to surrender, and they gunned them down. And then come to find out they didn't gun them down. I'm like, I'm out. If you're just going to misrepresent shit, then I'm not going to pay attention. It's kind of like when they were playtesting DBA 3.0. They'd asked me to be on the playtest team, and it sounded good until, every 2 days they were changing the rules significantly. So I was like going crazy just trying to keep up. I'm like, no, I'll just play it when it comes out. I'm really not going to have much of an impact anyways on it, so we'll just wait till it comes out, and then we'll play it. My first war game ever had T-62s in it. What game was that? Oh, the old Barlev game. I have fond memories of that game too. Tell you what, I could almost take a nap right now. How long have we been on here? 3.5 hours? 4 hours? 3 hours. Your first was Panzerleader. I never cared for how those games looked. The counters were fine, but the board was just, your background color is white is just too, not enough color. And the infantry looked like, the tanks looked just fine. The infantry looked like crap. Like they used like infantry symbols for the infantry, but they used tank silhouettes. They should have done the infantry the way they did like squad leader counters. Have some infantry guys on it. But they didn't ask me. I never played an SPI game. They were just out of business by the time that I started wargaming. And they don't look very good, They don't look very good.